we going to be hitting the old blown Camaro? No. We going to be hitting the nitrous-fed Camaro over here? No. We going to hit the 55? No. We going to do the dually? No. What are we working on? Well, let me get my big old butt over here. This is what I got going on. What's that? What's that? Well, there's the black Camaro. That's right. We're bringing back the black. Oh, yeah. Back in black. We are going to have some fun. We are doing a remote mount water pump on this thing. I'm going to show you guys how to do it in your garage by yourself. Now, is this cheap? No, this is not freaking cheap. It's a remote water pump, for God's sake. You know that. But I'm going to show you guys how to do it yourselves. So let's get into this, man. Now, because of the Pro Charger, I'm having a heck of a time. And from this picture I'll show you right here, you can see we got everything connected. I dummied up the charge tube and all that, and I have no room to run a regular water pump. Also, all of this is going to get converted over to 16 AN. I have to, because that right there is no freaking way I am going to get a radiator hose that's going to make that tight of a curve and be all, you know, molded to what I need. This is an All-Star radiator, and let me show you something really cool here. All-Star, their top ones are threaded in. So here's a 16 AN. That solves that question. How are we going to do this on the bottom without actually doing any welding? That's right. You're not going to have to do any welding on your radiator, and you can run everything at 16 AN. They do offer 20 as well. I went with 16. This is from March, the people who make all those beautiful pulleys and beautiful kits. This is a clamp-on setup. That's right. This is going to clamp onto your radiator and then just hold everything down. Once we get into this, I'm going to pull the radiator out. I'm going to show you guys how this gets attached. This is our setup. This is a Summit, and I got to thank the guys from Summit for hooking me up. This is a Summit 55-gallon, their remote water pump. Inlets on that side. There goes one of my parts. Outlets on this side. I ended up making this bracket to mount the thing. We'll get into that later. 16 AN line fittings. Summit also offers these O-ringed 16 AN fittings for the water pump as well. So we got everything here. We're going to be able to rock and roll through this whole freaking thing, you guys. I'm telling you, this is going to be sweet. So here's my radiator setup. This is what I'm running. Now, this fan, you guys might go, man, what is that? This is actually a GM fan. It's either a Cobalt or something like that. This has got 3 setups. You can go low, middle, and high, which what's cool about that, you're not going to have as many amp draws as what you would with a regular fan that just cranks it up on high. You might not need what this thing has to offer on kill, but it might be good on low, and it might be good on mid. Let's say you don't have a super hot day, or you do have a hot day. Well, you can change that stuff. So these are really nice. And again, this is an All-Star radiator. I ran full Champion before, the radiator and the fans and the shrouds, and I mean, I spent the money on it, and it ended up cracking and just peeing water everywhere. A good friend of mine, Jimmer Klein, ended up hooking me up on All-Star and this fan. He's like, this is what we run in a lot of our hot rods. Why don't you give it a try? And I will say it works at least equal to the full Champion setup that I had on it before. So this is pretty good, and it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars less getting this whole setup. This is also the other good thing about it. There's your threaded in piece. You can do 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4 inch hoses, or you can go 16 AN or 20, and it just threads right on in. So that solves your top side. Now, what about the bottom side? Okay, I'm as curious as you guys on this. There is the March adapter. Now, this whole setup, this is going to clamp on to your bead rolled edge on the radiator. Now, they make these in different sizes. So if you have a 1 1/2 inch hose on the bottom, you'd have to look it up and specifically get it for a 1 1/2. This is, I believe, a 1 3/4, which is pretty standard for GM. What you want to do is make sure when you put this clamp setup on, I had to grind a little bit of my fan shroud away here just so I could actually make a little bit of room for it, but we're all good. Nothing too crazy. You want to make sure from this edge to where this clamps on, you're about 3/4 of an inch. Now, this lip here is what we're going to be biting into. This is the little itty-bitty nothing rubber gasket that they give you. I will say this, you know, it's going to fit into this little grooved area inside here, and it goes on. If you turn this, I mean, I'm just looking at it and I already figured this portion of it out. If I sit here and I crank this down, I'm going to be spinning this washer against the edge here. This is going to slice through it like nothing. This is tightened down. That's loose. So what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to smush it on there. So I'm going to be actually doing all the tightening with this. Do not sit and spin this on here. I guarantee it. It's going to just slice it up. It's not going to seal, and you're going to be wondering, hey man, why is this thing leaking water like crazy? Now, once I feel this touch, I'm done turning this guy. And right there. All right, I'm done turning it. Now I'm going to hold this steady, and I'm going to turn this big nut on the bottom. All right, so my crescent wrench doesn't go wide enough for this. So this is next in line. And I hate using these just because of the fact that you start to kind of screw your ends up. But it is what it is. This is what I got to use. This is what I got to use. Like I said, this is going to do the smushing. I was curious about possibly throwing some Loctite on it, but it was like, what if I got to take the thing off? That feels pretty tight to me. So that, I'm hoping, is exactly what we needed it to be. Now, if you don't have the threaded end on the top, well, just buy another one of those and put it on the top. So that is all done. Radiator's all done. It's all set up for 16 AN. Let's get it back into the car. I don't have 12 AN fittings, all of them that I need, because I have a straight, a 45, and a 90 that I use for dummying things up. And that's the point, because I don't want to sit here spending $20, $25 on fittings per fitting if I really don't need them, or what ones do I need, etc. So it's always nice to have some junk dummy ones around. If you don't, you don't. But I'm lucky enough that I do. I wanted the charge tube in to figure out how much room do I have between the charge tube and the frame itself. And as you guys can see, I'm going to slide you down in here. That's how much room we have inside there. And, you know, this is the size of the motor. And I'm taking it for granted that it's going to have to stay kind of this way. You know, it can either be upright like this or turned, you know, anywhere clocking this. But I don't think the motor is allowed to flip up or flip down. I'm taking it for granted that it's kind of like a fuel pump. You know, a lot of fuel pumps, you don't want to lay them sideways or anything like that, because the way that they feed, you'll start burning up the motors. And that, my friends, I do not want to burn that motor up. So it's a little bigger than I thought it was going to be, trying to get it down inside there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it too much farther on the water pump setup. Here's why. You can see right here that the water pump is on the driver's side, and I was planning on this thing being on the passenger side, and that's some of the fittings and all that stuff that I ordered up, but unfortunately, it's not happening that way. You can see that it's on this driver's side. So now what I'm going to go through, I can't really get too much farther. You can see I have plenty of room from the tire to the water pump, all that stuff. I have to figure out the water lines coming from the block to the pump itself. That's why I have it slightly tipped. And I'm going to try to get two 12 AN lines fitting through there. If I can't, then I'll run a single 16 going up there. I'll still figure that stuff out. I'm still kind of in the process of figuring that out. But check this out. We are going to move on to the fuel system. So here's where I'm at now. I had to make some reference marks on the regulator to figure out where I'm going to put it, because it was hitting. This line here, I had a 90 on it, and that was definitely hitting. So now we got a 120 on there, slightly tipped down. I have both of my carburetor fittings are going to be on this inner edge here, and I should have enough room to clear that fitting to hopefully that fitting. So I'm going to put a couple of dummy fittings on just to double check and make sure, because we don't need anything clunking in. But I'm going to try to get this section here wrapped up. So stick with me, you guys. We're going to keep on rocking and rolling, but you totally understand where you think you're going to go a certain way, working on whatever the project is, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, I got to order parts from Jag Summit, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I have to stop on this. Well, move on to the next thing, and then come back and do this. And it's just a constant bop, 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 bop. Such a double-edged sword working on these things, but I love it. I love it. Don't mean to be complaining. I love it. Let's get to work. Aha. Go on there. I just can't get it. It just won't work. What's going on? What we're going to do is we're going to run that up, not quite all the way to the tip, We want to just have a little bit off. Now, we're going to be able to take this end, stick it in there. If you notice, it's going to be all the way around. We're good to go. Now, push down and twist. So now, I'm just going to pop this off. Whoop. There we go. That's off. There we go. And we're seated all the way in. So you guys don't have to fight and fight and fight. Now, next little trick here is going to be getting these two assembled. Ta-da-da! We got options. A little assembly lube, or it'd be WD-40 or BB Blast. Now, what you're going to want to do is, the rubber inside here is going to be really hard to go through. As this pushes itself through, it's just it's trying to get through. You got to have some sort of lubricant in there, all right? In the hole here, open that hole up a little bit to get this guy to go inside. What you can use is a bolt, maybe even a screwdriver, because sometimes as you're putting this on, it'll kind of fold up. So let's say we grab a screwdriver. Get yourself a Phillips, don't do a flat. Stick it in there and just kind of open the hole up a little bit just to make sure everything's going good. Now, we can slip it in, boop, we feel the threads start to go. We're good to go. Now this right here, I don't know how many times I've seen people do this and stop 1/8 of an inch and flat out have gone, I can feel it, it feels like it's gonna break. Guys, grab a little bit of assembly lube, or you can do it with the WD-40. Put just a little drop on there. These are aluminum, man. So we wanna make sure that that's lubed up. So as it's going, it's just nice and smooth as it rotates in. And I will say this is on an 8 AN line. You start going down to 4 AN, 6 AN, they are notorious for snapping. Put something on there, a drop of oil, a little bit of WD-40 or PB Blast, or even a little bit of assembly lube. All right, you guys, so we got the front section of the fuel line and all that stuff done. Hope you dug it. This is about as far as we're gonna make it in this episode. Next one, we're going to be finishing up on the water system and getting stuff ran to the back of the car. Still got to pull out the gas tank, all kinds of stuff to do there. So I hope you dug it. Like I said, we're getting a little bit closer to getting this thing on the rollers or the hub dyno, and I am looking forward to that. Can't wait to hear this thing come alive. So till we meet again, my friends, take care, and I will see you again. See ya!